Okay, so this is the first episode of Zinn Life, and what it is as early as 10th grade, I wanted to try and keep a journal, a writing journal, and I would, write a little bit in it each day. And each time I've tried to do this, from the time I was, whatever 10th grade is, I guess 16-ish, until my last failed attempt was about a year ago. What happens is I'm really into it. I do it for a few days. I think the longest I was ever able to do it consistently was, I don't know, maybe 6 months. And part of the problem was, I would eventually start asking, who am I writing this to? Who's ever going to read this? What's the point of even doing this? And that was part of the problem, is I would never go back and read it, because then, several months or years would elapse, and then I'd go back and read it, and I'm like, why didn't I keep doing this? And I'd read it, and things I would write down, I had events and experiences that I had totally forgotten were there. Anyway, with this modern technology, I thought, why not do it in a video way? It's much easier to convey my thoughts. I am doing this mainly for myself and maybe my kids, but I'm going to post it because perhaps, so I'm not only going to do, actually the only time I'm going to be speaking like this is when it's just me, but what I'd like to do is have conversations. And this comes out of listening to many different podcasts over the last, 7 to 10 years, and particularly appreciating the ones that are just spontaneous conversations. They're not scripted, they're not planned. It's just two people getting together, sometimes of very different backgrounds, and through a conversation getting to know each other and getting to learn from each other. And that's what I'm planning on doing. So 2 minutes, I guess real quickly, because I'm going to have, if I meet people and they don't already know me, I'm going to have them listen to this. I'm going to try and keep it under 5 minutes. That way they have a brief background of who I am when we go into our conversation. So my name is Michael Zinn. I'm 55 years old. Today is the 5th of May, 2023. And I am here at the Student Union of the University of Oklahoma. I am back here in town to visit my firstborn son, Noah, who is 22 and is studying computer science here at OU. So I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. My parents were Jewish. My father grew up in a Jewish family in Denver, and he was married when he was very young, and that marriage didn't last. He had 2 children from that marriage, Cheryl and Diana. Diana, being the older, and she actually just recently died. It's been about a year, about a month since she died. Then, I don't know the time gap, but eventually he met my mother, who grew up Episcopalian in Denver, Colorado, and she went through a 6-month program meeting weekly with rabbis in order to convert to Judaism. And the consummating step was I think they call it a mikvah. She did a kind of a ritual washing. She was on one side. She described it as being on the one side of a stone wall, and the rabbi was on the other, and she just kind of, I guess, got in the water, and I don't know, I just walked around or something. Anyway, they were married in 1966 in Denver, moved to Dallas, Texas, where my dad had a job with Jarrell women's sportswear. It was very successful. I was born 2 years later in 1968. Grew up there in Dallas. From when I was in pre-K or kindergarten, we moved across the street from Leroy Jordan, a middle linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys who had played at Alabama. He had 3 sons. The middle son, Chris, was my age. Oh, it was David, Lee, and Chris. Lee and I were close friends. Anyway, oh my goodness, way too detailed. Okay, so I grew up in that realm. They moved to further northern part of Dallas when my dad's got fired. He started his own women's sportswear company. His name was Noah. He called his company Noah's Flood. That was like in 1977. I graduated from high school. That was my first job, was at Noah's Flood. Then I did a stint at a shoe place in Richardson Square Mall, and then Taco Bueno, then Sanger Harris, which was bought out by Foley's, which was bought out by Macy's, and then the whole mall was recently demolished. Then I graduated from high school, went to the University of Texas, studied biology pre-med. It was there that I had an experience that caused me to believe that Jesus was real and that he was the Messiah. And I began a lifelong journey to know him. So at the age of 20 that happened. I graduated, went to California for kind of a Bible training for a year. Got to spend some time with my sister Cheryl, who I didn't know growing up, and her only son at the time was Max. He was like 2 years old. I remember one of my best memories of that year is taking him to Disneyland. Then moved back to Texas, and then actually lived in Russia for 7 years as, I guess you could say, like a missionary over there, telling people about the Bible and about my experience of Christ. Came back to Austin, Texas. Was there for, let's see, 99 until 2002, January. Oh, so I got married while I was in Russia. Had met Hannah. I'll do a whole episode. Actually, hopefully it'll be me and Hannah. I don't want to do too many of these where I'm just talking to the camera. I want to do more conversations. But Hannah and I met in Austin as students and Christians on campus at the University of Texas. I was a senior. She was a freshman. But it was just, we both had almost immediate interest in each other, but we really didn't we were holding our cards pretty tightly to the chest. Wasn't until she came to Russia to see what was happening over there that we eventually began to spend time together. After a short kind of a courtship, I proposed, she accepted, but I wanted her to spend some time like I did at that Bible school, Bible training in California. So she was there for a year while we were engaged, and then I came home. We had our wedding in, oh my goodness, it's already 8 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to have to do that whole episode with her. Why get into all these details? Anyway, so we get married, we came back to Texas. We had our first son, Noah, born in 2001. When he was less than 1, we moved to Oklahoma in January 2002, and lived in Oklahoma until 2022. About 8 months ago, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, Hannah and me and our youngest son, Aaron. Okay, and then Samuel was born in 2003. So now, Noah is, like I said, here at OU. Samuel is studying electrical and computer engineering at the University of Texas. And Aaron and Hannah and I are living in Mooresville, North Carolina, which is just north of Charlotte. Okay, so I'm going to wind this up. It's got to be less than 10 minutes right now. It's about 9. Sorry for the background noise. There's like a little study group happening here in the union, and in the future I'll obviously probably have you know, better technology, have better audio. Obviously, I'll try not to do this with background. And anyway. And like I said, mostly it's going to be conversations, and I'm going to call this thing what did I say? Zinn Life. I think that's going to be what it's that working title is. Zinn Life. All right.